everybody, and welcome to Exposed. It's a little podcast and YouTube show where I talk to some queens who may have been on a Rupaul's Drag Race franchise. Now, this queen is young. This queen was on UK Season 3. This queen undeservedly had to leave the first episode. It's the one, it's the only Anubis Finch. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm good, thank you. You pronounced it wrong. It's Crystal Versace.
Oh, yes. Okay, wait, hold on.
Yeah.
Hold on. Chris,
Sorry.
the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 3, Crystal Versace.
Hello, how are you, my darling?
I am great. So much better seeing you now. We had a little technical difficulty because the internet hates us, you know?
Well, tell me about it. Do you know what I mean? I installed Twitter and found that out quite quick. Bloody hell.
Oh, I'm so excited to dive into your life and everything because you were following me, I believe, before the Drag Race announcement.
Yeah, well, we all know of you over in the UK. We watch your lovely little videos with all the girls. And you were one of the ones where I was like, okay, I really would like to do an interview with this one. You know, I loved everything you put out. So yeah, I mean, we filmed back in February and then it aired Meet the Queens in August. So that's probably why I probably followed you sometime in between then trying to get your attention, you know, for a grinder, to be perfectly frank. But you're too far from me. Do you know what I mean? I don't go outside 1,000 miles. Sorry.
Oh man, I mean, but we'll have to be able to get you UK girls over here. I think that's the one thing that really is weird to me as well. It's like we send all of our girls over there, but like, why are they not sending you guys here?
I know. I find that odd too. I mean, I think part of it is probably COVID, to be honest, because obviously if you think about season 2, they had to stop because of COVID. So I think the only girls who've been allowed to have are season 1. But hopefully soon. I mean, it's always been my dream to perform in America, so fingers crossed. But who fucking knows?
I want to get into you growing up. Now, I know that one big thing that you made sure, especially like even now in your outfit, is you're very good with your heritage and where you came from. You know, you are English Egyptian. So I guess my question to you is, what was it like growing up? Where did you grow up?
So I grew up in a very tiny town called Eastbourne, and that is in East Sussex. So basically, you have the coast, and there's loads of different coastal towns. Eastbourne is one of the ones where you kind of go to die. It's one where all the old people reside, pretty much. So it is quite dark. Sorry about that. But luckily for me, I was born there, and I'm an old soul, so I fit in quite well. But no, yeah, I grew up there, and to be quite honest, it was a bit of a shitty time, because I grew up in a household that was rather loving and supportive on one end and not much on the other. So as you said about my English Egyptian heritage, my mother is English and my father is Egyptian. So growing up was a bit tough because not only was I a young queer person who was creative and flamboyant and outrageous and stupid, but I also showed that and I didn't care to hide that in any aspect of my life, be it schoolwork or the clubs that I joined or even just as a personality. So I think for me, that was like a hard 7 years growing up with my mum and dad. And then they divorced when I was 7. And then I moved to an even smaller town, lucky me, called Seaford. And that's actually where I am now. So it's just outside of Brighton. And I am currently with my grandparents. They've been raising me since I was 7 or 8. I'm still very, very close with my mother, and I lived with her for a long time too. But yeah, the 3 of them have kind of been my rock. They've been the most supportive. And I actually lost touch with my dad when I was around 10 or 11. And one of the last times I saw him, as I mentioned on the show, was that day that he took me out. And I genuinely can't remember much about the day, apart from small details like that. But that was the last day I saw him. And that one, I was maybe 13 at the time. So yeah, that's kind of like a rough explanation of it all.
But I would like to know, because you said that your dad is Egyptian, right? And then your mom is English. So what is it about putting that into your drag that is special to you? Because, like, I mean, if you haven't talked to him for a long time, I know that that's a very emotional thing. And being able to put that into your drag, do you feel some type of connection, or what do you think it is?
Do you know what? Genuinely, I don't know. And I know that's a bit of a shit answer, but I don't know. When I started drag, it was not the focus of it at all. I'm a performer, I'm a camp girl, and I like my sequins and sparkles. But to be perfectly honest, it didn't actually come into play until like a year or two into it. So I started off as a bit more of a club kid and, a camp queen. So I was actually Mrs. Monet when I first started, because Monet is one of my very many middle names.
And how old were you?
Oh, well, technically, when I started the clubs, I was 17, which isn't legal here. Oops. But I've been doing drag since I was like 11 or 12. I used to dress up as Corella, Ursula, all the Disney villains. I used to perform in shows as Miss Trunchbull from Matilda and all these different camp, drag characters. So I've done that for years now. And then I went into the music industry and I was a backing singer for, Queen, Paloma Faith, Zara Larsson, all these big names. And then, so you didn't get this storyline from me. All you got was that I went to an aquarium, I'm somewhat Egyptian, and now I'm going to go. You know what I mean? But no. So, yeah, that's kind of like what I started doing when I was like 15, 16. And then I started drag properly at like 17. Then I was in the club scene, lip sync competitions, drag idol, things like that. And Brighton is small. I don't think people realise how small Brighton is because it's currently known as, the gay capital. I don't actually agree because it is so tiny. The drag there is amazing, but there's not many of us, It's just me and Joe Black crying in a corner at the moment. Good luck for season 4, whoever it is, because you've got a tough time having. But Brighton is fabulous, but it is such a small scene, and I think that's like part went onto the show. I wanted to represent that, so gutting, when you make the face, like people don't even know that I sing. People don't know that I'm a trained actor and dancer. Know that I've done all this, professional stuff. They just kind of think I'm this 19-year-old bedroom queen. It's like, well, I've actually got years of experience. And no, I'm very young, so I probably sound so naive to some people, but like, I do have a lot of experience, genuinely. So yeah, it kind of irks me slightly, but what can you do? It's the way the cards were dealt.
I think it's crazy that you said that like you're an old soul, and then literally it sounds like your career has been going on for 76 years. Like, I was a backing singer for Paloma Faith. I, also was the Pope. I traveled around the whole world. I'm like, man, like how were you inspired to do all of that? Like, what was the push and the drive? Because to be 15, 16 years old, to be, doing backing singing, then to be able to get into drag at such a young age, like, what was it pushing you?
Probably people telling me I couldn't was the main thing. School was really, really rough. I was heavily bullied throughout school by students and teachers. I used to wear a full face of drag makeup on to school every day. I used to go in with my traditional head wraps. I used to go in with the most fierce contour. It was a lot. And looking back, I'm like, you could have blended a tiny bit more, Anubis, but I'll let you off. But that was kind of the reason why, because I had all these people around me telling me, you can't be this. You're not this person. You're trying too hard to be this, or you need to be more like that to be masculine and blah, blah, blah. So that was kind of the driving point, really. And I loved music, I loved theatre, and I loved, hair and wigs. But they were all separate. And, I love musical theatre, but I didn't want to go down that route solely. I love singing, but I didn't want to become, a pop star. So I wanted to do all of it in one. And that is what drag allowed me to do. It allowed me to incorporate all of my loves and all of the things that I live for, to be honest, in one. So that's why I went down the avenue. I mean, don't know if it was the right avenue to go down, Rupaul. Joseph, sorry. You know what I mean?
When did you see Drag Race for the first time? What season was it?
Season 6 was the first one, so I must have been maybe 13. Yeah, and I remember being on the bus. This is my first memory of Drag Race. I remember being on the bus home with a girl that used to bully me, and her name was Olivia. Oh, I was about to say her full government name then. She won't be watching. dead now. No, she's not. No, she on the bus, she said, "Oh, have you ever heard of Sharon Needles?" And I genuinely, naive 13-year-old, I was like, I mean, I have, but I would never do it. And she was like, no, Sharon Needles. And I was like, oh my God. So that's how I found drag. And then I left it for a while. And then when I was like 13, 14, I started to watch it. And I watched Bianca online getting crowned. And she was my first real like drag race love. Was Bianca. And then I started watching it every season, doing a bit of the old online watching. God, they're going to come for me now after this. It really is exposed. And yeah, so then I watched Bob, and they were my loves. Bianca, Bob, and Sasha were the first three that I fell in love with through Drag Race. Yeah, and I knew I'd be on it one day. Just didn't know the way it turned out.
So you said that your first drag name was, what did you say it was again?
Mrs. Monet.
Mrs. Monet. So what inspired that, and what made you change it?
So my full name, I don't know if I should say this because I found my Facebook, but it's all private anyway. But my full name is Charlie Paul Frank Monet Finch. Very fancy for a little Eastbourne girl.
And that's a long-ass name.
It is a long name, but I'm a long woman. Do you know what I mean? In many ways, Joseph.
According to the internet, you're 6'4".
I am 6'4", out of drag. Wow. I know. See, this is the thing. People meet me and they think I'm going to be a tiny little twink. Like, oh, I love drag. And then they meet me and I'm like literally a 6'4", half African. And they're like, oh my God, what do you eat for breakfast? I'm like, children. And sometimes.
So what made the switch?
Well, I wanted something that was referencing my heritage, as I said. So it's kind of like 2 years into it, I changed it. But it was more of like I wanted something that was like really campy. And I found myself like being very young and very, very camp and over the top. And no one really understood it. No one got it. And it was like I was trying to break through the stigma of having to be young and fashion. And being older and being camp. I didn't like that segregation. It's such a weird thing to me that you have to be one or the other. Yeah. And I've always been camp. I've always been over the top. I've always been outrageous. They're traits that I've had thrown at me for all my life. So I thought, I'm going to break the mold. So Mrs. Monet was a camp little name, but I wasn't actually getting booked much. And I was like, you know what? It's probably the fact that I don't have a wig on and my dick's hanging out. But maybe it's my name too. So I changed it. But no, I wanted to change it for the heritage reasons, to be honest. And something that was a bit more gender neutral, because obviously I'm non-binary. So it was kind of a bit of a discovery, because I found Mrs. Monet was quite like gender specific, whereas Anubis is kind of like a very floaty androgynous name, even though typically it's masculine. But so are my breasts. So it's...
Why didn't they show any of this on the show, Anubis?
Blame it on the... No, I'm joking.
Oh, yeah. We should blame it on the edit. Something happened. Well, you end up doing drag. You start, dibbling and dabbling. You change your name. You're becoming, the queen that you are today. When did you decide to apply for Drag Race?
So I applied for season 2. And look where that got me. So I applied, but obviously my lovely friend Joe Black got on. We were all very excited. But Joe was one of the real first connections in drag I had with Brighton. He helped me gain a residency at Proud Cabaret, which is a venue we have here in the UK. And he was kind of a bit of a mentor to me. We wouldn't go far as to say drag family, but he did help me out with, getting some bookings in and stuff like that when I was kind of finding my footing. So I owe Joe a lot, really. So when he did season 2, I auditioned, didn't get it, and I thought, right, I've got a year now to just focus on me, find out who I am, who I want to be, and enhance all the skills that I don't have that I need for the show, in hopes that I could maybe get on next year. And look at that. No, anyway. So I started sewing, because that was the only thing I really couldn't do to save my skin. The singing and acting and all that stuff is fabulous. A natural talent, Joseph. But no, sewing is not my forte. I tried to do that with my grandma. She taught me. And then I auditioned for season 3. And as you know, I got the call a few weeks later and they said, Rupaul finds you very funny. He loves your Snatch Game part of your video, and loves your voice. And we're excited to see you maybe on. And then you go through a whole process, blah blah blah. And then I got the official call to say I was on. And a few weeks later, I was on the main stage lip syncing to Little Mix for money. Not for money, for depression.
for depression. Well, you get that call. How long did you have to prep for the show?
I think it was like the usual time of about a month-ish. Yeah. I think it was slightly less. I mean, we were in the middle of a lockdown, so... Yes. The thing that irks me is that at the time I was living at my grandparents' house. So as lovely as they are, they were quite useless with the things of like, okay, well I need this to be fitted like that. And my nan, bless her, she's up till 4 a.m. sewing with me. I'm like, right, we should probably get some rest now, Tina. Do you know what I mean? It's still a size 66-inch waist. It's not going to work. So that was difficult because I couldn't go to fittings. I couldn't do any of that from home. And obviously it was different at all different parts of the UK. So unfortunately, where I was, I could not leave my house for love nor money or desperation. So yeah, I was doing everything on my own. My grandparents helped me and my mum helped me a lot, and that was amazing. And I do owe them a lot, especially like financially. I really was not in the position to go on that show, to be frank. As we all know, you have to pay out money to earn some back. But yeah, so we got prepared for that in the lockdown. It was very tough. A lot of my costumes didn't fit me. So when I went to the show, would stay up late at night sewing things and making sure there was last minute, stuff and getting everything ready that way. Stoning things in the coach, literally like last minute, because the time just runs away from you, my love. So yeah, that was really tough to get ready for that.
Yeah, and I can only imagine, too, like you said, that some places in the UK probably were more open than others, and you had more access to things. But also, looking back at it, we putting up all those looks on Instagram after you were eliminated, you had looks. You had some fucking looks. My favorite was your Monsters, Inc. coat. Monsters, Inc. has a place in my heart. As you can tell, I have this Scream canister right here. It is.
I'm literally going to fly over just to steal that off your shelf. I don't care about the other thing on the other side.
No, it's just my face. But yeah, this is like a little canister, like you drink out of it. But yeah, Monsters, Inc. was a big thing to me. So I saw that and I was like, this is amazing.
That is incredible. Well, thank you. That's very sweet. I mean, I was very excited to show my looks. They were like, I had poured my blood, sweat and tears into those looks. And I think the thing for me when I got cast was that my looks weren't my strong suit. I've always been known as a vocalist and as a performer. So I was like, okay, well, if I've got those skills and, they're saying that that's good, I need to really focus on the fashion side because I know that I could get ready for that if I'm not, conceptual or editorial with things I come up with. So I really focused a lot on that. And I think then for the first episode to happen, it was a bit gut-wrenching at the time. It was a bit of a blow. I think that's because in my head, I'd built up this thing. I mean, I didn't think I was going to win, to be frank. I thought I'd be there for a camp town, not a long one. Do you know what I mean? But, I wanted to go in there, have a laugh, show what I could do. And then unfortunately, I was kind of left with what I was left with, which was two looks that didn't fit me incredibly well compared to the others, and a lot of black eyeshadow on my eyes.
I can't with you. You literally cracked me the fuck up. So the girls, when you walk into the workroom, I know that Crystal's your friend. Did you know other girls?
Yeah, so Kitty's very close with another queen we have in Brighton called Lydia Lescabies. So I knew of Kitty very well. I'd heard of a lot of them, to be fair. I followed Victoria and Charity for a long time. I was actually a bit of a stalker with Victoria. I used to send her DMs every month like, congratulations on reaching 9,000 followers. I love you. And now I'm like, embarrassing, let's press unsend. But no, me and Victoria are very close now, bless her. Now that the restraining order's complete, we're great. But no, she was the one where, when I walked in and saw her sitting there, I was like, okay, bitch, this is going to be an interesting one because she is out of this world talented. And same with Charity and all of them, to be fair. But Charity and Vic were the two that I was like, you are my competition, especially Victoria, because we're similar in our camp aspects and our, fashion stylings and our skill set as performers. I just think she's such a total package. And if she does come back for season 4, I really hope she wins. Sorry to the other girls, but I really do hope she wins. I love her so much.
So what you're saying is that once you learned that you were probably going to go home, you decided to cast some magical spell on her leg so then she wouldn't be able to compete as well.
Yeah, I'm not kind of saying that. I'm definitely saying that. You know, she is a rude bitch, and I can't stand her now. No, could you imagine if I... Well, technically, she didn't think before me. So actually, I think she put a spell on me. She was like, I'm going to win. I'm going to do a knee slide, take the attention off of Anubis, and she can get in the truck. Do you know what I mean? It wasn't a truck. I promise it was a nice coach. Could you imagine back of the van, hands tied? Christ. Not the first.
You had, I will say this, I didn't actually have that big of a problem with the squid look, like as what was said. I thought that the hair was actually pretty cute. I also think that you won the lip sync. My own opinion. How did you feel in that moment when you were in the bottom 2 and you were about to have to little mix it out?
So when we did, do you mind if I backtrack slightly?
Yeah, backtrack slightly.
So when we did the critiques, me and Charity spoke beforehand. And by the way, thank you. I really appreciate that because people really slate me for that squid look. And I don't think it's awful. I don't think it's good, especially compared to some of the stuff I brought with me. But it was definitely one of my weaker looks. And I see what the judges were saying. I completely do agree with most of it. But me and Charity spoke off camera and Charity was very like, you know, I think we're going to be in the top. And I was like, oh, I might agree with you. And then when they were all called forward, I thought, oh, okay, I'm safe. Because Charity was in that group, along with like Teresa, who I thought was brilliant. And I was like, okay, right, they're probably the tops. And then they were safe. And I thought, oh, bloody hell. My Brighton looks really got me to the top this week. Me and Victoria looking at each other like, we've done it, babe, we've done it. And then they go down the line. Victoria's first, I'm second. And I was like, oh, I was like, okay. I mean, at the time, I was like, okay, what can I improve on? And now when I watched it, I was like, okay, do you know what? I do totally agree. I think I should have been in the bottom. But yeah, so that's something off camera. Me and Charity thought we'd be like safe top. And so did me and Vic. We had a conversation like, I think we're both right this week. And, you know, the cards were dealt the way they were. That's just what happened. But yes, so then when it got to the lip sync and Untucked, knowing the bottom 3 was me, Electra and River, obviously, we'd just come off the main stage and Rue was pissing herself laughing at River's point for the Medway stage. And I thought, well, there's not a chance in crock of shit she's going home because she's so funny and Rue finds it hilarious. So I thought, right, it's between me and the Bendy girl. And I thought, oh, I mean, I can probably do a bit of comedy. You know, why not? But I've actually seen Electra perform before. She was one of the ones that I'd actually watched live before. And I, you know, at that point in Untucked, I was like, right, I've worked it out. Sayonara. But no, I love Electra very much. But when we were on that stage, I knew it was probably game over unless I started splitting and death dropping. But in that dress and that wig, as you say, there was not a Scooby-Doo's chance in Foggy Witchcraft that I could get that down. There's not a chance that I could have split or death dropped. It just wasn't going to happen. But yeah, I think, in my opinion, I think she probably did win. But I really, really appreciate what you're saying, and I love that, you know. But I think the fans spoke on that as well. You know, a lot of people say to me that they don't think maybe I should have been the bottom 2, but they think Electra won the lip sync, and that is very fair enough, you know. But yeah, I knew I was off. I knew I was going to go.
But okay, so you're 6'4", and Electra's how tall?
5'2".
So literally, this is probably the biggest height difference in a lip sync ever then.
Ever. Well, do you know what? And I will tell you this for free. I won't charge you, and if I do, it'll only be 50 pence. Paper. But me and Electra actually had a moment after the lip sync where we went into each other, not like that dirty. We went into the middle, and I kissed her forehead and like leant down, kissed her forehead, and she looked up at me like I was the BFG. It was great. And when we both left, as obviously the 2 first out, spoiler alert, we said to each other, that's going to be a meme. We were like, we need to market that. That's the only thing we've got. Let's run with it. And then they didn't even include it. I was like, oh, for fuck's sake. I was like, you could have thrown a dog a bone. Do you know what I mean, production? But oh well. Wasn't in, but that was a nice moment, me kissing her little head.
Oh, so you literally had to like go all the way down to the floor. You're like,
Yeah.
oh.
I had to get a lift from the first floor to the. It was honestly awful. Bless her heart. It echo and it just bounces off her.
One thing that we talked about earlier that I love, and I'm gonna go over them right now and put them side by side right now and put them out there, is your looks that you had. Like looking at these, and the viewers can see too, your banana look. The fruit look was phenomenal. Like where did that even the creativeness come from for that?
Do you know what? I've always been a bit of a creative brain, and it's one thing that I went into the competition knowing that, would set me apart from others, was that I'm creative, I'm camp, and I'm something you've never seen before on the show. So that was something I was really, grounded in. But to be honest, it was just a lot of like sketching and planning out what I was going to do. That was like one of the looks that I kind of sketched out first and went, that one. So, take it or leave it really. But I love that look too, so thank you. Maybe that's from being a bit of a club when I started, but I just love things that are a bit weird and a bit interesting and outrageous. You don't really know what you're looking at.
And that's exactly what a majority of your looks are. I loved the what was it, the ugly or the fugly look was great. All the bows and the hair, and like I just think that you did such a good job, and to go home this early and to have this much still in your bag, even if you thought that the looks were not that great when you were, sewing them and making them, they turned out extremely well.
Thank you, baby.
How has fan reception been afterwards, after you were eliminated?
So the day I got eliminated was lovely. It was loads of positivity, loads of love for me, love for Brighton. And I think that's because a lot of people here have seen me perform, but they haven't seen me enhance the fashion side of things back in February. So I think that was like a big thing for people to see, like, what I would do. I think everyone was intrigued as to what I would bring to the table in that element of things. So I think for me to go home first, I think people were like, oh, okay, I don't understand why she's kind of been cast then. Because it was kind of like, I think people were waiting for me to be a bit of a personality, or at least show a bit of singing or something that I'm kind of known for. So I think that was the fan reception. I think that's what I'm trying to say. It was echoed through people being like, I just don't understand that, but fair enough, which is very lovely. And, I couldn't be happy with that, to be frank. But yeah, so it was lovely at the beginning. And then it kind of all turned when I won Miss Congeniality. And I suddenly kind of got an influx of messages that were very hateful and hurtful, as everyone kind of does from the fandom, really. But yeah, it started to turn a bit sour, and yeah, it got a lot on Twitter. I think I was trending at one point with the amount of hate that was being sent my way with like names in my tweets. It was crazy.
What were they saying?
Just like, I didn't deserve it. We don't remember who you are. You're talentless. It should have been her. It should have been this one. How we don't, you were there for 5 minutes. Well, you had this. It was just that constantly through my phone. Or bing bang bong, not sponsored. But yeah, so that was kind of gutting, because the season was over. It was like the day the season finished, and then I was like, oh, I've done quite well not getting any of this. And then literally that day, me and Crystal were sitting in bed, not like that, obviously. I'm a married lady. And I just started to get all these messages through, as did she, more than me, obviously. Not many there. But no, we got loads of messages, and a lot of mine were just like, we don't understand that. So I was like, fair enough. But other than that, fans have been amazing. I'm very, very grateful. But yeah, I don't really know what else to say about that, really. Sorry.
Well, how do you as an individual deal with that? Because I know when I get comments and I'm nowhere near like on a national platform, I take a lot of things to heart. I know a lot of people do, no matter what. But I can't imagine, you think, oh, okay, like, first episode, and then you're getting like love, and then it's like, oh, Miss Congeniality, woo! And then it's like hate. So it changed all of a sudden. Like, how do you even deal with that?
I think you have to take it a day at a time, to be honest. With me, I've always been very thick-skinned, well, literally as well. But I've always been like very strong-willed, and stay true to myself, and I've always been very grounded. And I think that for me really helped with that stuff because I didn't take anything really to heart. You know, I got a lot of messages about being bigger because I lost 10 stone, which was an unused storyline. But I lost 10 stone, so I had a dramatic weight loss, and I put most of it back on now because I'm a fat bastard. Lockdown. But that was kind of a big thing for me, was that people were sending me hate about my body image. I had one that was like, your dad wouldn't be proud of you. And that was weeks after the first set. And it was like, God, like, what have I done to you? I've dressed up as a squid and got a red sash. Do you know what I mean? I'm not hurting people. So it was just a bit gutting. But I think for me, I just had to kind of stay away from it. I put that energy that I would do responding to them and calling them out in my art. And, you know, writing songs and trying to produce new music and going into theatre productions and things like that. That's what I like to use that energy for. I use it as fuel, which I think a lot of artists do, to be honest. But that for me was like the saving grace. But I just don't have time for it, my love. Do you know what I mean? I don't give them the time of day. I don't think I've ever responded to a hate message, ever.
That's good.
That's good, I think, for me anyway. That's the way it works for me.
Yeah, I mean, you can't give them the time of day, and any time I have given them the time of day, they always apologize right after. Oh my gosh, You never thought that you would see this, and I'm like, well, you never thought that. Then why did you write it?
Why did you tag me then, my love?
Yeah.
Why did you tag me? You didn't think I did. Tag Electrofend. No, don't. I'm kidding.
You're out first. You're Miss Congeniality. You end up going back to the reunion, or not the reunion, but I guess the roast episode. Yeah. And how many jokes did people make about a bus with you?
So many, girl. So there was a lot that you didn't see, but I would genuinely argue that the majority of the roast was about me. They didn't use it. You know what I mean? They want people to forget me, but I'm coming out strong. No, I'm kidding. But no, quite a lot of the jokes that obviously are on air. The show is a limited time. But yeah, there were a lot of jokes about me and about my name. And I mean, genuinely, I wasn't offended because I don't get offended by much. It's quite hard to offend this. But I think part of me at the time, because I didn't really know them either. You know, I'd never met Ella before. I'd never met Ella Day. So I was like, I don't know this person. And she's like slating my Egyptian heritage. I'm like, hang on a minute, love. Let's pick up on you. Do you know what I mean? But no, I think at the time it was fine. And then Ella, we've messaged since, and it was obviously just a joke. And I think I had a lot of DMs being like, that was really insensitive. I mean, I don't really care, to be honest. I mean, it depends who you are. But I didn't take any of that to heart. It's a roast. You're meant to do that. So I just found it funny. But we've spoken since, and all of that's, you know, absolutely fine. Didn't bother me, but people are what people are.
People are what people are. Did you have a chance to tell Crystal what you actually thought about her roast?
Oh, girl, this is the thing. I love Crystal to bits. We're literally best friends, but it was awful. Do you know what I mean? It was dog awful.
Was it as bad in person as it was on TV?
I'd say equal.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest, I'd say it was pretty equal. Yeah, the thing is with Crystal, I'm like, she's so talented, and she does makeup like I could never dream of. She has a body that I couldn't even picture. She has a smell that is horrible. Oh, that took a wrong. But anyway, the point is, no, Crystal is fabulous, but no, that roast was a bit of a mess. But she got a crown. Do you know what I mean?
She did get a crown. And how was it having your friend get a crown? And you, like, what was that like for you? Like, has she changed at all?
Genuinely, no. Like, if anything, she has changed for the better. And I know that's such a congeniality answer, but I am the one and only.
Yeah, you are.
The one and like 17 at this point with all the different franchises. But no, I think the thing is with Crystal, I think part of the show didn't showcase her warmth, it didn't showcase her love, because obviously you can't see everything. We're there for so long, and you get a 65-minute snippet every week. But Crystal is genuinely one of my best friends ever. She is such a sweetheart. I think it was so deserved for her to win. And everyone discrediting her win, I mean, I love Kitty and I love Ella and I love all of the other girls on the season. Anyone was deserving. But in my opinion, Crystal has been there for me so much, and it really proved, like, she does have everything. You know, she ticks every single box. And not only that, but RuPaul also did lick her ass, so why not? I mean, who didn't? Do you know what I mean? I've done it quite a few times during the lockdown. No, but Ru, like, loved her, and rightly so. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? She is impeccable. She's flawless to me. You know, the roast was awful, but she's flawless.
When people were saying, you know, like, oh, it should have been Ella, I kept thinking in my head, I was like, but that finale dress and makeup is what did it. Everybody said it.
I didn't yet.
I felt so bad because I kept wondering in my head what actually happened. I was like, it does not look right. I was like, it feels like you put on makeup and then took off all of the makeup and then had to put it back on in 2 seconds.
Well, I mean, right. So this is one thing I will say. So Ella has said since, I think she said it on social media or something, that dress was like a total flop last minute when she was preparing the show. So that was not what she was meant to wear. It was kind of like just kind of something she rushed out. And actually similar with me, but we'll get onto that in a second. So I think it was a bit of a rush for her, and she was in so much pain. I think she just injured herself before the finale doing the Hey Sis. And obviously it's exhausting doing that show because you have to do so much every week. And, you know, it's very taxing on someone, although very rewarding too. I think she hurt herself a lot and she was in pain. So she just wasn't feeling it. She wasn't selling it. And I think looking back, she's probably gutted. Do you know what I mean? I'd be so gutted if I saw myself kind of not give up, but kind of lose my light, lose my spark a bit towards the end, which I think, unfortunately, is what happened with her because she was on such a trajectory to win with all the challenge wins at the end. I think maybe that let her down, unfortunately. But, you know, she might be back one day.
Yeah, you never know. Wait, so you're talking about your outfit. You said that you were rushed. What were you referring to?
Yeah, so my finale isn't what I actually was going to wear originally. It was my third backup. So, I mean, from the waist up, it was very similar. But last minute, I had a few designers and we were trying to work things out. But the idea, which I might use in the future, is it was meant to be a huge pyramid and it was going to have blood pouring out of the like huge vases on the top and loads of toilet roll and like tissue paper coming out like I've just mummified someone. But I was meant to be coming out of a giant gold stoned pyramid to match this lovely bodysuit that I have, along with the hair and the big panel that I wore. So that was the original look, and it all kind of just went a bit wrong. As I said, we couldn't have fittings. So when they sent it to me, it's actually, part of it's down here, but it's like, it was this huge like Egyptian pyramid, and this is literally like one of 12 panels. But it's giant and it's stoned, all the way around, and it just didn't fit me. It maybe would have fit Violet Chachki if she corseted the tightest she's ever tight. Like, it was so tight on me. So that just didn't work. So I had to come up with another option. I made my own skirt at the very last minute, which is what you saw on the show. I was attaching bows, and it was just so plain and simple with the fabric that I had that I thought, okay, what can I do? So I started adding like ruffles and bows. And in the end, when I watched it back, I was like, oh, I love it from the waist up. And this is kind of the general consensus of a lot of opinions I've heard. I loved it from the waist up. But unfortunately for me, that just waist down was such a last minute resort that I had to pull out of the bag, and there was nothing I could do about it, annoyingly. You know, it is what it is, but it would have been major. It would have been so major. I'm so annoyed I didn't get to do it.
So me looking at this look right now, you were saying that the top would have remained the same, and then the bottom would have been those panels like a pyramid.
Yeah, 12 panels all the way around, like kind of almost like I'm coming out the top of it, but it was covered in like blood-stained vases. People always say that my stuff is kind of Dragula, kind of Drag Race, but it's going to be covered in blood, and that's why I kind of had a bit of a bloody nose. My hands were drenched in blood, so that was the idea. That's why the kind of catsuit gradient here, as you can see, it kind of like goes down into the red stones, because I was going to be drenched in blood. So that was the idea, but it didn't work out in the end. What can you do?
But it will work out one day, and then I'll be able to see it.
Maybe.
You did say that, you know, the major consensus was, you know, people didn't necessarily like the bottom of the dress. Yeah. I would like to know when you get people commenting on your drag or telling you that they don't like something, how do you differentiate taking things to heart and being like butthurt over somebody critiquing your art versus taking like constructive criticism? Like, is there like a difference to you, or do you take things to heart?
I definitely don't take them to heart. I'm just trying to think if there is like a definitive difference, because to me, I think maybe if I love you or I admire you or you inspire me, I would be offended, or it would crush me a bit. But I think if I don't have that connection with you, I don't really. It goes in one ear and out the other. Yeah. I genuinely don't think it bothers me that much. I mean, people don't get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think that's been a common thing for me. Is a lot of people don't understand it because they've never had someone like me before. That was kind of what the rest of my cast were saying to me when I got eliminated. It was kind of like, we all get it because we do drag and we love you and we've seen you perform and we get the personality and we know you well. So they all got it, they understood it. But I think for people to see a 20-year-old, 19 for the BBC, a 20-year-old, young, half Egyptian, slightly plus size now, non-binary, they just go like, hang on, it's like overload for them. They can't do it. And then I'm not a skinny fashion queen. I'm a campy performance-led artist, and they're like, well, it's too many boxes to tick for them. Yeah, I think it's too many boxes for them to tick, and they get lost in it. It gets a bit lost in translation sometimes, which I understand. But I've always been about, stepping outside of the box, being outrageous, being wild. And that goes for out of drag too, I've always liked breaking boundaries.
Let's break some boundaries right now, because what I want to do is I have questions from you from the fans. So we're going to go into some fan questions.
All 4 of them. Thank you, fans, for tuning in.
I can't with you. How did you feel about the comment that was made about Crystal looking like you because of the wig? And that is from Fred.
Hi, Fred. Are you Fred Flintstone? Do you live in a big cave? I'm not even drunk, but I feel it. So, Fred, I actually didn't really mind it. I mean, I think Scarlett intended it as a bit of a shady comment because I was first out, which, is what it is. It was fine. I mean, it didn't get a laugh from the judges, Scarlett, though. Do you know what I mean? That's all I'll say. I'm congenial, I swear. No, it didn't bother me at all. I think the reason why that comment was made was because I'm known for wearing those wigs. They're actually done by a company called Wig Chapel. And I've always been known for the last 2 or 3 years on the scene wearing the pom-pom wigs with the extravagant colours, or in black, white and red, or in like grayscale. I've got loads of the wigs just lying around. So I think that's why that comment was made. And I do think she looked like me, to be honest. Like, she had a big fur coat on, silly wig. Do you know what I mean? Like, tick every box, Crystal. But we've since spoke about that, and when it was airing, she went, this is behind the scenes, I was at hers and she went, oh God, that wig is hideous. And I went, that's literally my love. And she was like, oh, I'm never going to wear it again, just fucking have it. I was like, great, a free wig. So now it's mine. I actually own that wig that she wore on the main stage and got mistaken for me. I now own it. It's sitting in a room next door.
and you took the pictures in it too, right?
Yeah, girl, I did like a whole photo shoot with it when I was touring. I was in Newcastle with Teresa or something, like Scotland, and we just sat down and I went, right, I've got to get these photos out. I want to recreate Crystal's picture that she's just posted. But yeah, why not?
The next question I have is from somebody called Exgirlfriend. I don't know if it is your ex-girlfriend, but I'd love to know what your favorite singers and musicians and how they have inspired you. Do you incorporate the styles of singing or writing lyrics for any singers or musicians in particular? Love you, Nanny Nubis.
Nanny Nubis. Nanny Nunu. I think that might be from a drag queen I know called Exgirlfriend, but maybe not. I don't know. I think so. Okay, so music stylings. Did you say inspirations?
Yeah. Like, who are you inspired by? Yeah.
So for me, my kind of massive inspiration for music is jazz. So I love the stylings of like Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, Dinah Washington. Amy Winehouse is a huge inspiration for me. So I've got Amy tattooed on one of my arms. I wish I could show you, but I'm covered in jewels. Very expensive ones too, Joseph, so I don't ruin them.
It's okay.
Joking, they're Poundland. No, and the other side, I've got Lady Gaga. So I've actually got the words Lady Gaga tattooed into my wrists, like a typical young twink.
At least it's not like that porn star with the Born This Way tattoo on his back. Do you know about him? No?
I am him.
Oh, man. Onlyfans.com/Anubis Finch.
Oh, well, you never know, Joseph. If times are hard, cash is calling. But no, yeah, so I think for me, I've never heard of that person, by the way, just a side note, don't know what you're on about. It's definitely not my ex. But no, for me, Lady Gaga and Winehouse and all the jazz inspirations I mentioned, they're huge inspirations for me when I write my music. Obviously, like I've wrote over like 300 songs now. I've got a whole like journal of songs that are just unheard, unseen. Only like my nan has heard them. Do you know what I mean? But yes, I've been doing that for like 4 or 5 years, and it's like a bit of just a passion project, really. I don't know if it will ever go anywhere. But yeah, that for me is like a big thing, is jazz, and combining that with pop and R&B. They're the 3 genres that I love to like.
Oh wow.
So yeah, like I'd say that's where I like want to take some stuff. I'd love to do more music and, you know, take inspiration from those artists, but I definitely think they influence me vocally and artistically, especially Gaga.
Do you have plans for pushing out anything sometime soon?
I might have some things in the works. Yeah, she might be back in the studio. Who knows? But yes, no, I've been writing a little jazz album for the last few months. So hopefully I'm going to release that in the new year. But yeah, I have a single coming out sometime soon. I'm just waiting for a few things to die down first before I start to release wild. But yeah, music is like a huge passion project. I definitely want to be singing. That's like what I want to do now. Yeah, drag and singing are like the 2 things I want to take and run with, you know.
I love that you are looking like you're going into jazz. Like I think that that's such an untapped area, and I absolutely love jazz. Do you feel that you have to differentiate yourself as a drag persona with your music? Like, are you treating it as one, or are you treating them separately?
Very good question. I think because I've done both, like I used to always do it separately when I was doing backing vocals. And then when I started drag, I was kind of performing and singing, and people knew me as like the singer, Mrs. Monet. But I was in drag. So I think I've kind of done both, but I do want to blend it now, I think. And I think having the platform that Drag Race has given me will hopefully allow me to do that, you know, fingers are crossed. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, I don't really know. I haven't found the key for it yet. Do you know what I mean? Well, I found the key, but I haven't found... Could you imagine? Well, you'll hear it without auto-tune, and maybe you'll think otherwise.
Our next question we have is from Brianna Michelle. Brianna wants to know, do you think that the UK girls are held to a different standard than the US girls? Do you think it's an advantage or a disadvantage given the difference in drag scenes?
Wowzers. Yes and no. I think for me, Drag Race has created a element of the minimum of what acceptable drag is and what valid drag is, which I think is great because we have an amazing entertainment show with loads of amazing costumes and expensive garments and talented queens and loads of diversity. Do you know what I mean? I think that's incredible, and don't get me wrong, but I think it's also created a bit of a stigma where if you don't have money or you're not resourceful, your drag isn't valid, which I obviously don't agree with. So I think, yeah, maybe that's a different standard, because in America, I feel like maybe because the queens bit, I mean, I don't know my left right from my tit talking about this, to be frank, because I don't know what the American queens go through. I can only speak from my perspective, but I think because the drag scene here is smaller, we don't have many designers, we don't have many wig makers. Our kind of pool of work that we have to choose from is a lot smaller than America. So we kind of have to make do with what we've got if we don't do it ourselves, which I think is maybe a slight difference with America and UK. And you can kind of see that in the looks. I mean, people like Crystal, I think, and Tace and Bim, I think they're starting to pave the way for a bit more of like a fashion element on Drag Race UK.
Yeah.
But I think UK drag, as Kitty said in the finale, is cemented in performance. I think that's always going to be the way it is. I do think we are held to a standard of you have to meet this level of money and this level of polish to be valid. I think maybe that's the difference, the big difference for me. Obviously, there's loads of little stuff too, but that's the thing that sticks out to mind.
Yeah, did you spend a lot before like getting on the show?
Yeah, I spent quite a lot. I won't say how much, but it was a large sum of money. And it wasn't obviously it wasn't paid back. Rue didn't go, oh well, I don't want you for episode 2, but here's your money back. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't happen. So you kind of have to go all or nothing.
You send him the invoice.
Yeah, fully. What's your PayPal? I'll just link it over now. Anubis. Oh well, fuck it. Do you know what I mean? Bless him.
Next question we have is from Pug Dad. They said, shady question. With all the no elimination episodes this season, 2 or 3 in total, do you think they should have not eliminated anyone for the first episode instead to showcase you guys more?
Maybe. I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think as the season carried on, finding out what happened with the non-elimination, and then another and then the double Shantae and this and that twist and this one, it was a bit like, oh, okay. I mean, I felt a bit distant from it for a period of time. I think that's why me, Charity, and Victoria kind of gelled as a 3 when we stopped filming, because we all felt a bit out of it compared to the rest of them. Because obviously we were technically all early outs. I mean, me more than anyone, but us 3 kind of gelled together, being like, okay, let's have a chat about this. So yeah, I mean, I don't find it shady of them, because I mean, it's just the way it is. But with hindsight, I would have loved, if they brought me back for episode 3 or something, that would have been great. But yeah, kind of looking back, kind of gutted that it wasn't a non-elimination, because I also loved what I had for the runway in episode 2. I constructed this like giant A out of hair, and it was like 2.5 feet tall. It was just really camp, but annoyingly, if I stayed that one extra episode, even if it was just that, you would have seen something completely different and glamorous from the week before. So I don't know, it is what it is, but that shady question's really got me on my toes.
Oh yes, your toes. Your last question from the fans before we get into non-Drag Race related things. This is from Nicholas Bosco. Has anyone ever discounted you for representing your Egyptian heritage because of your mixed heritage?
No, not necessarily. I mean, I don't really get that a lot, to be honest. I think the things that people say to me that are negative are mainly, you look old. Why do you have the personality of someone double your age? That's kind of the thing that's thrown at me. I don't really get a lot of hate for representing both sides of my heritage. It's not really something that comes across, at least from the fans anyway. Maybe behind my back, Jim. You wrote that one.
Actually, there's a whole Reddit forum right here about it.
But yeah, no, it's not really something that comes across, especially with like direct messages. I never really have anything like that. It's usually from people that, have heritage, whether it be Egypt or other Middle Eastern countries, that are like, I'm so grateful for you, even though you weren't there very long. I've got to see myself for a brief moment on TV, or, things like that. Even same with me being bisexual, and same with me being non-binary. People see that and go, oh, I know we had Scaredy Cat for season 1, or I think they might be pansexual now, and Ginny and Bimini last season for UK 2, being non-binary. So I think for me, it's great when I get those messages of people being like, it's great to see me on TV represented in some way, even if it was short and sweet, still did that. So I love that.
Well, even though your time was short and sweet, my last Drag Race question for you is, since my show's called Exposed, you know where this is going. If you could expose something that happened behind the scenes, either positive, negative, happy moment, whatever the crap it is, that didn't make it to TV that you wish would had, is there any moment?
two things. I've actually just thought of this, right? The one of them, just very simply, before the lip sync, Electra had her wig on a wig head, which I'll provide for you if you're stupid enough to know what it is. This is a wig head. Hello. Get back, Clarissa. It's my interview. So just before the lip sync, me and Electra were about to go on, and she had one of her wigs on a wig head in the workroom. Her station was like opposite mine to the left or something. And she was running out of time. She was, trying to zip up last minute. She had like sound mic problems. It was all going tits up, and not the good kind. So I helped her out, and I actually sat there for about 2 or 3 minutes, delicately cutting her lace, helping her zip up, getting her body set, doing all this lovely stuff for her. And then she sent me home. I wish being a bit more congenial, to be honest. I come across like a right boring fart. So I was like, it would have been nice to have got that in. But no, and then the other thing, this is like the major thing that I wish made it on air, just because me and Crystal laugh about this every time I see her. But me and Crystal and River, we got ready next to each other in the workroom. So Crystal was on my left, River's on my right. And it was in between the Brighton look and the Squid look. And obviously one of my critiques from the judges was that my Brighton makeup was lovely and my Squid look, hideous. Well, they didn't say that, but that's what I hear. So as I was coming back to change my makeup, because I had to get into like a kind of ink look, girl, you have no time, as we all know. So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, I can delicately do all these intricate lines and I can make it really clean, and girl, not going to happen. Do you know what I mean? So Crystal went, if you need to rush, I've got this lovely like black glitter you can use. And I was like, oh, great idea. So I got my glue, put it all over my eyes and my lips, my cheeks. I thought, right, I'll try and use a thin brush for this. Dab the glitter, put it on. When I tell you that did not come off my face for maybe 4 days, it was literally like, I don't know whether it was my glue or what, but it was industrial. Like, it was not coming off. So I was trying to like move it a bit and like, get some concealer and make it a bit cleaner. It just was not budging. So I was like, okay, I'm going to have to go on the main stage like this. And then the main critique was that my makeup was messy and, it was all a bit over the place. So I blame Crystal.
Is she giving you? She should be giving you a chunk of the change that you guys do not get. Maybe.
Yeah. She cut off a bit of the sector. She went, "You can have that bit. Have the end." Wow.
So moving on to your career as a drag artist now, apart from the show, I would love to know. So if I were to come to Brighton, if I was to come to the UK and I were to see a show of yours, what can fans expect from seeing you on stage?
Genuinely a bit of everything, which is something that I love about my drag. So as I've said many a time now, I'm really hammering it home. But I am a singer at heart. So there's lots of campy vocals, lots of chaos, lots of performance-led stuff.
Wouldn't you like to have fun? How's about a few laughs? I could show you a good time. Let me show you a good time. Maybe.
I am a trained dancer as well, so I can do the splits, I can do a death drop, I can do all that shablam stuff. But it's not really me, to be honest. So unless I'm in a costume for it and I'm feeling the fantasy, you don't really get much of that. But it's mainly stand-up and music. That is my show all over. I love hosting. I love being a host. But yeah, it's kind of just like silly one-liners, really. I mean, as I said on the show, they didn't include any of them, obviously. But I am partial to a one-liner. But no, I think that's kind of, my show is just chaos. That's the one word I would use. Chaos and outrageous are the two things.
And it sounds like a variety show too. You give the comedy, you give the dance, you give the singing, you give them a full show.
Oh yeah, girl. I mean, if you're paying the £5 ticket entry, you might as well get a lot. Do you know what I mean? £5's a lot of money in this climate. But no, that is literally like my drag. It's a bit of everything. It's a bit all over the place. It is a bit chaotic. sometimes I have huge 10-inch stilettos on with a huge wig. Sometimes I'll just stick to a baseball cap and bare feet. You never know what you're going to get with Auntie Anubis. You just don't.
Where you were young, as you've said before. I mean, I don't know if anybody knows that. You're 2 years old.
I am.
But
3 next week.
Yeah, 3 next week. And do you feel ever like, where do you think your trajectory of your career is going to go in like 5 years, 10 years? Like, if you're already this good at 20 years old, like, what do you think in your head?
I mean, I hope up. Do you know what I mean? I hope it just skyrockets. But again, I said that in February, so who knows? No, I really do think like my big goal is to win a Grammy. That's like the main thing I want to do.
Oh, yeah.
Very ambitious for a little Eastbourne girl. But no, like, I've always had a dream. Like, I've always dreamt that, I want to be a big star and I want to do all this different stuff. I want to change lives. I want to make an impact. That's always been what I wanted to do with my life. And the fact that I get to do it at this age, I mean, it happened a lot earlier than I thought it would. I thought I'd be slogging away for years on the machines and things. But, I just luckily got this privilege and this opportunity to be on the show at this age. But I mean, yeah, I'm hoping I'm producing music and touring and meeting everyone and still doing that in 5 years. I don't want much to change apart from lots of money and lots of followers and lots of sex.
Yeah, exactly. And a big house and, like making it your royal throne because you need it because you're Anubis. There you go.
She does. I mean, she deserves a throne after what she's had to be put through this year. Do you know what I mean? Gosh, 30 minutes on that bus home.
Oh, are you guys touring? Are you going to start being able to like go about and stuff? Are things opening up? Like are you going to actually be able to start performing and doing shows?
Well, so at this moment in time, we've just had that new variant and restrictions have come back into place slightly. So it depends when people watch this, obviously. But as of this day, which I think is the 7th of December, 2021, we are being put back into restrictions slightly. Oh. So we're having to wear our masks everywhere again. We're having to, social distance everywhere we can, things like that. Whereas the last kind of... the whole of airing of season 3, we were allowed to do whatever within reason. Weren't allowed to shag your neighbour. It didn't stop me, but I did. But no, like we had all of that stuff, so we could still go out and tour and meet everyone and perform. That was something we've been privileged enough to be able to do. But strangely, our season's finished, and literally the day of, we were told, okay, you have to wear a mask now. So it's just one of those things. So I'm going to say, I hope not. I hope we don't, go back into that life. But if necessary, we do what we got to do. Do you know what I mean? I think it's unfortunate, but again, I think lives are more important than wigs sometimes. Rare quote from me, but you got it in there.
Yeah. See, that's the thing that I always get frustrated about you guys too. Is it's like it's you guys have this platform, you're on it, and then you're almost there, and it's like the touring part and doing all that is the biggest thing, and then it's like.
Yeah. I mean, we're scheduled to have a tour. I'm saying this. We are scheduled to be on tour this time next year. So hopefully, I think it's August 31st that it starts the official season 3 tour with Voss. So that should be going ahead, COVID in mind. Yeah. But right now, I'm not touring much. I'm kind of, staying at home. I've started the TikTok. That's great. So I'm going to start doing a bit of that every week. You're welcome. Yes. But no, mainly for me at the moment, I am just focusing on, music and just being there for everyone because we're all in a little family and it can get a lot sometimes. A few of us like Veronica, Ella, we've had to take a few social media breaks for a few weeks just because it got a bit too much at points. So yeah, I think if we're there for each other, it lightens the load, beg your pardon. So I think that's important that we're there for each other more than anything right now.
Yeah. What would you say is the biggest misconception of Anubis Finch?
That I'm really talented. No, I'm joking. I think the biggest misconception about me, there's many, but the biggest misconception about me is I think when people hear my age, they begin to discredit that, or they think that maybe, it's not genuine, or my heart's not in it, or I don't have the experience to back me up. I don't have the talent because I'm young. things like that annoy me. But I'd say my biggest misconception is probably that. It's the fact that my age hinders me slightly because of people's opinions and prejudice against it, which is annoying, but, you know, it is what it is. But yeah, I'd say that. And the fact that people think I'm tiny. When people meet me, they're actually flabbergasted because I think I'm going to be this tiny little Electra Fence impersonator. I'm like, oh, well, if I was, I would have stayed. You know what
So bad. And my last question for you, I always ask people to give advice to the LGBTQIA community, but I want to change the question because I believe that you, as an individual, have a lot of characteristics about yourself in our community. You are non-binary, as you said. You are bisexual, and I think that those are two parts of our, you know, beautiful community that sometimes are misrepresented or judged, you know, because of one thing. So if you have, what advice would you give to young non-binary people or young bisexuals who are kind of coming into their own?
I probably have two different answers for both, if I'm honest.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because I think for me, obviously, gender and sexuality are different.
Yes.
So I think in my head, the discovery of me being bisexual happened when I was very young. That was when I was 10. I came out to my mum when I was 10 years old in the back of a Toby Carvery, which is like a roast dinner restaurant we have over here in the UK. But yeah, so I've kind of always known. But I think for me, it's to not listen to other people about what they think your sexuality means and what your gender means and what boxes you should fit into because of your identity. I think that's what I would say. Because a lot of people tell me that because I am bisexual, you know, I've had all my life, you're greedy, or it's just a phase, or just pick one. Why can't I just pick one? So I think that for me is like a big thing, especially in the drag scene, to be honest, because I think people, especially like brunch huns, they meet me and they instantly go, oh my God, when did you come out as gay? That's always the first thing, you know. Oh, my son's gay, he'd love you. It's like, oh, right. Okay, so what advice would you have? Because you're gay, obviously. So what would you tell me for my... It's like, okay. So I think a lot of people might presume your sexuality, but, you know, I don't think anything apart from love defines it. I don't think doing drag defines your sexuality or gender. I don't think being artistic does. I don't think playing football does. I don't think a colour does. I don't think any of that stuff actually matters. I think it is solely about love. So I'd say my biggest piece of advice for young queer people that are finding themselves, particularly non-binary and bisexual people, are to just not listen to anyone else about what you feel. Because that's something I struggled with for ages, was fitting into boxes that other people wanted me to fit into. And I feel that with drag too, to be honest. Yeah. You know, people meet me, they see me, they hear me, and they think I should be a certain thing. And I'm not that. You know, so I'd say that it's about, you know, being different and staying true to you. And I know it's a bit cringe, but it is just the best piece of advice. Just stay true to yourself, my love.
It is so true. And I also believe that being able to find your true self is also extremely big. And one thing that I've always noticed is that I was taught so young that femininity was bad. And I cannot hold my hand out and I can't talk this way and I have to make sure that I present myself this way, that literally it has taken so long for me to be comfortable doing certain things that people would consider feminine. But in the actuality, like, why does it matter? It doesn't. It's like, who gives a fuck if why does a boy got to be blue and a girl's got to be pink? Like, who gives two fucks? It doesn't matter. Like, wear what you want to wear, do what you want to do, be yourself and be you as an individual.
Yeah, agreed. It really irks me, especially when people categorize fashion with sexuality or fashion with I'm like, girl, why does that matter? Like, people are so set in their ways and traditional, and also the hatred towards femininity is literally misogyny. Like, it just is plain misogyny. That's all that is. And you know, obviously people are constantly bullied for being feminine, but you don't often get the other way around, because we're celebrating being men, you know, and being masculine, and, you know, oh, go and play, oh, my son plays football. It's that kind of thing that I've tried to avoid growing up. Is masculine is hot, masculine is correct, masculine is valid. Whereas with me being feminine, even with dating, I mean, this is totally outside of Anubis's drag life, but even with dating, I mean, I've got a lovely partner now I'm very happy with. who's also non-binary and also a drag queen. But we found each other and we first connected on that alone, about, you know, always being shamed for being feminine and not knowing where we fit in with the world. So that was kind of, I mean, it's amazing now, but dating has been a big thing for me because no one wants to date a feminine guy. That's what it is locally anyway. Can't speak for all the world, but, you know, I found a lot of hatred, particularly on certain dating apps, you know, growing up, trying to find yourself and, you know, what you're into and all that stuff, all that malarkey. It was always hatred for femme people, or people that, you know, broke the mold slightly. Hate straight acting. I hate that. It doesn't exist. You're not straight acting. That doesn't mean anything. That literally doesn't, that's got no definition. Straight acting literally is, you can't define what that phrase means because it doesn't exist. You know? Anyway, could be here for hours talking to you about that.
No, it's true. And I also think too that the most masculine thing that anybody could do is accept the femininity of others. Like, if you want to be a man and accept it. Like, it's literally you, that means that you're in control and you accepted it and you're done. Like,
totally agree. I totally agree. I think it's amazing, but one day we'll get there, hopefully. One day. I really cross my fingers, but, you know, it's getting better. It is getting better. So, you know, we have to be positive about it, but...
Oh, well, thank you so much, Anubis, for being here and exposing yourself and chatting with me. Oh, yes, you're exposed.
Warn me for bye.
Where can people find you on the socials?
You can find me across all social media, I think, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at Anubis Finch. I have a blue tick on Instagram, so it's great. You should definitely follow. But yeah, other than that, I think my YouTube is also Anubis Finch. Give it a search. And that's about it, really. I don't really have anything to plug apart from the one sitting on my ass.
Hey, you know, I mean, as long as it fills it up, you know, fills it up.
What a strange...
Well, thank you guys so much. Wait, are you on Cameo or no?
Yeah, I am on Cameo.
Okay.
At Anubis Finch.
At Anubis.
The cameos, they're very funny. And you know what? Crystal always has a go at me because I do them for like 6 minutes and then she does hers for like 10 seconds. But you get money. Honestly, I'll do anything for money.
Well, go check that out and put your favorite part of this interview in the comment section below. Let me know what you loved about Anubis, what you loved about this interview, or maybe even what you didn't like. I don't care. But one of you I am going to pick, and I will be gifting you a cameo from Anubis. So comment below. One of you guys will be selected. And, you know, maybe Anubis will tell you something crazy or funny or a story about themselves, or maybe they'll just tell you, happy birthday, you slut. You never know. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, I am Joseph Shepard. Make sure to follow on all socials, Joseph A. Shepard, like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. And until next time, I'm Joseph. That's Anubis Finch.
Bye.